It's a long way from here to here. From seedling to sapling to mature trees, the reforestation process is a long, hard journey. And as with any living organism, including our own species, the first steps are the hardest ones. It's our job to safeguard British Columbia's reforestation planting stock at the most vulnerable time in the life cycle. Our actions, day in and day out, determine how many trees will live and how rapidly they will grow. Each seedling we handle represents so much for the environment, for the economy. A lot of people are depending on us now and in future generations.
Here at Surrey Nursery, we do everything we can to give each and every seedling the best possible chance for survival. But we are only part of the team that determines each seedling's fate. I like to believe that everyone down the line shares in our commitment.
These guys are alive. They need to be cared for and not abused, just like any living thing.
I like to think that every seedling I plant will grow into a mature tree. Otherwise, what's the point?
So far, so good. Plantation was well planned, the site was well prepared, and the seedlings, they looked good by the time we planted them. Now, let me show you what can happen. A little while later, they are dying. Because somebody, somewhere down the line, didn't do their job. The seedlings were neglected. They weren't cared for properly. Usually, the damage doesn't show up until long after the seedlings have been planted. By then, it's too late to save them. All our work's been wasted.
It's important that seedlings get the best possible care between the nursery and the planting hole. That's when they're most vulnerable to three factors that impede growth: lack of moisture, high temperature, and physical abuse.
Now, we have to remember that the damage may not happen all at once. The stress that kills the seedlings builds up at each step in the reforestation process, and the results may not show up till long after the seedlings have left your hands.
Once it's out of the ground, a seedling only has a limited store of energy to get it through the hard journey from the nursery to the planting hole. It uses up a lot of that energy just staying alive, even under the best of conditions. Extra stress from moisture, temperature, and physical abuse can leave the seedling without enough energy to survive once it's planted. In some ways, seedlings are like we are. If we suffer a severe cut, we go into shock. If it gets too hot, we sweat to stay cool. These physiological responses use up our body's energy. We can restore that energy by eating and resting. Seedlings can't.
What wouldn't hurt you could kill a seedling. Things like lack of moisture, high or fluctuating temperatures, and physical shock. Seedlings aren't built to take it like we are.
Every stage of handling represents a stress on the seedling. It's important to remember that once it's removed from the nursery, all we can do is try and minimize the stress and loss of energy. We can't heal a seedling once it's been damaged.
Seedlings are made of the same basic building blocks we are. Damage at the cellular level is what drains seedlings of energy and eventually kills them. Normally, a plant creates energy from sunlight through photosynthesis and stores this energy as carbohydrates. But when a seedling is out of the ground, in storage or in transit to the plantation, it can only stay alive by reconverting the stored carbohydrates back to energy. This process is called respiration. Too much of it will kill the plant. By freezing the seedlings, we are able to minimize the energy loss caused by respiration. When the temperature goes up, so does the level of respiration, and the seedling loses energy. Respiration generates heat as a byproduct. As respiration increases, so does the heat, which in turn creates more respiration. It's a vicious circle. Physical abuse also increases the rate of respiration. Other stress at the cellular level can include physical damage to the cell wall, which, like any wall, will collapse. Too much water can cause the cell membrane to rupture. Too little water, and it shrivels up. Rapid freezing or thawing will also rupture the cell membrane. The cell nucleus and its enzymes are sensitive to heat. These vital components cease to function at high temperatures. It's the chloroplast's job to convert sunlight into carbohydrate energy. They can be damaged by light that's too bright, and they're temperature sensitive. When too many cells are destroyed or damaged between the nursery and the planting hole, the seedling will not grow. At each step in the handling process, we can minimize the potential damage and give each seedling the best chance of survival. Our first opportunity is at the nursery, where production of seedlings follows the natural growth cycle. Seedlings grow rapidly in the spring, with a high demand for water and nutrients. By July, top growth is complete, and a state of summer dormancy is achieved, where the seedling is most resistant to drought. We plant 30 million seedlings every July to August in this summer condition. Time is the key consideration in summer planting, as seedlings must be planted within a few days of leaving the nursery. During the fall, the seedling roots continue to grow and the plant gets ready for winter frost. Dormancy begins to take hold in the late summer, with the plants fully dormant by late November. In this condition, the seedlings have maximum resistance to stress. That's when we package them at the nursery for safest handling and storage. In BC, we freeze store about 170 million seedlings every November to January for the spring planting season.
In the nursery, we nurture the seedlings to provide reforestation programs with healthy planting stock. We send them out in top condition with a good reserve of stored energy.
After all the months of careful tending, it would be a crime to ruin them now. Keeping the stock moist and cool is our priority. And of course, stock must be handled properly to prevent physical damage. The sorting, packaging, and storing phase is crucial. A lot of stress can occur here in a short time unless we keep the plants moist and work quickly to minimize exposure. Once lifted out of the ground, bare rootstock begins to suffer damage within minutes of exposure to the air. Our priority is to protect bare rootstock from drying out, especially when exposed seedlings are left on the sorting table for any amount of time. With plug stock, the problem is less critical. Seedlings remain in containers until they reach the sorting table, where they're processed immediately. Careful extraction by the root collar, combined with wrapping each group of 25 in cling film, keeps the seedlings happy. Once packed inside the polyline boxes, humidity quickly reaches 100%, providing a safe storage environment.
Summer planting stock is particularly volatile. The trees must be lifted, packed, shipped, and planted within a few days. The trees are not fully dormant. They are in an active growth phase, so special care is essential.
For hot planting of summer stock, we're now using plastic egg crate type boxes. This type of packaging facilitates watering and rapid cooling. It also protects the seedlings because in some ways they are as fragile as eggs. At the cold storage site, speed is also important with the spring planting stock. Fast turnaround from the nursery sorting table to the cold storage room minimizes potential stress.
We freeze store the seedlings over winter ready for spring planting. As soon as an order is received, we thaw them evenly for delivery to the planting sites.
Seedlings are stored at -1 or 2 degrees Celsius over the winter to keep respiration at a minimum. It takes about 19 days to safely thaw containerized seedlings. Bare rootstock takes about 5 days. If the seedlings thaw out faster than this, they may suffer cellular damage. If the tops thaw out faster than the roots, the seedling may wilt and die because the roots are still frozen and unable to provide moisture. Even thawing over the right number of days is critical. When a shipment is ordered and ready to go, we load the seedlings for transport to the planting site. During this stage, physical abuse can take a big toll on the young trees. So can high temperatures.
These trees have an awful long drive ahead of them. I pack them very carefully, as if I owned them.
If the boxes are packed firmly together, there's less chance of the bundles getting knocked around. However, we still need good air circulation to remove the heat from respiration. We want them to arrive with the least amount of physical damage and the least amount of temperature damage. Keeping them cool is our responsibility, whether we're driving the truck or not. Using the right type of vehicle will save a lot of trees. Our first choice for long-distance transport is a refrigerated truck. If not available, a covered vehicle with good ventilation will minimize problems. If a pickup is what we're using, a reflective tarp will help, but it won't keep the load cool for long. So we'll need to monitor the load temperature at regular intervals, travel in the early morning when it's cool, and minimize the travel time. During the transportation phase, the responsibility for seedling care passes to the tree planting contractor. But unloading the stock is a team job. We cache the boxes in the coolest place we can find, like under a shady stand of trees or by a cold mountain stream. Then set up a tarp to keep them in the shade and protected from rain and frost. These air spaces between the boxes help to dissipate heat from respiration.
Excellent. These seedlings are in great shape, but believe you me, it's depressing when you open box after box of dying seedlings. That's why I always check the seedlings when the load arrives.
Try to get advice from a stock specialist before planting any questionable seedlings. Signs of deterioration can include gray mold on the foliage. This requires immediate attention. Open the boxes in the shade to let the air dissipate the mold. Flushing buds and active roots indicate that the seedlings have started to grow. They'll have to be planted quickly. If the growth seems too advanced, see the stock specialist first. The partly dormant seedlings we use for summer planting require special care. Seedling boxes should be kept in the shade, but indirect light should still be able to reach them. If any seedlings are lying down, we stand them up immediately and water as necessary. The egg crate type containers make watering easier. They are returned to the nursery when empty. If frozen or partly frozen stock is received, it must be carefully thawed in the shade, never in the open sunlight. We separate the boxes to give good airflow around them. Separate and sort the bundles carefully, then repack frozen ones to finish thawing in the shade. We monitor the temperature closely. A field cache has to keep the temperature under 10 degrees Celsius. That's the maximum for stock being planted within a few days. We try to take advantage of places with natural shade and cool air. There's usually good cold air drainage near stream beds. Patches of snow are another natural air conditioner. Try to place the boxes to maximize the airflow around them and minimize the exposure to the sun. In many areas of the province, portable reefer units are used instead of field caches. They solve both transportation and storage problems. Often it's possible to safely transport and store all the trees needed for the project in one trip. Planters are the front line. They are the last people to handle the seedlings before they go into the ground.
While our actions have a large impact, our efforts mean nothing without healthy stock. It's good to know that everyone down the line has done their job well. Now it's up to us to give these trees their best shot.
We unwrap each bundle carefully to protect the delicate roots and place the seedlings into the planting bag. Jamming too many in can cause big damage at this last crucial moment. Moist material at the bottom of the planting bag helps keep the humidity high around the roots. Many planters use a damp sponge for this, or they seal half the trees with a reflective bag liner. Bare root trees may need to be root dipped in a bucket of warmed water before loading up for the planting run. No more than a minute. Any longer can cause damage to the root cells. After loading up, remember to reclose the box and protected from the sun. Reflective tarp does the job for an hour or two. A planter's seedling supply should be small, only a half day's worth in hot weather. Now, the last step. Careful planting is critical. We choose good microsites. We plant straight to the correct depth and tamp down properly.
I work with only one tree at a time. The rest stay in the bag where it's moist. Instead of carrying stock around in my hand, I take one out when I'm ready for it. I get job satisfaction from knowing that each tree I plant has the best possible chance of survival. I'm making a contribution by helping to grow new forests. It's a feeling we can all share from the nursery right on down to the plantation site.
We all have a stake in the fate of these seedlings. And if we remember that the damage is cumulative, that it adds up at each stage in the process, we'll remember to take steps that minimize stress. By monitoring temperature, by keeping stock moist, and by careful handling to reduce physical abuse. When everyone works together for something important, the result is new growth and new resources. There's a lot at stake right now and in the future.
You should be proud to be a member of the reforestation team.